well. So we'll get the team started. We have Dr. Bill Lamar here. Very good, we set up. He's going to do this on
Two announcements. First off, there's no flag building this Saturday. Martinet, or not even I will have out there in 2030. Okay, that's the first thing. Second thing is, I've been in communication with our friend Jose Parra, who flew to Buffalo to see his grandson, and is snowed in since last Sunday, and hopes to come home tomorrow. 3 feet of snow up there. So, good for them. Join me in the spirit of prayer. Eternal God, we give you thanks for the blessings of this day, for the little break in the cold temperature that we are enjoying today. We give you thanks for this great club and its work in our community. We ask your spirit upon us to bless it is what we do for service above self, to bless this food, to take the nourishment of our bodies, and to keep us this day in your peace. In the name of the Christ, amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Dr. Lamar. And now we're going to have past president and Pastor Shane help us. Actually, no, before that, we're going to do the pledge. Heather, will you help us do the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I thought you now we have Pastor Shane.
Soon to be doctor.
Thanks, Les. Yeah, maybe one day.
Yeah.
Years and years from now. If I ever finish writing. All right, friends, will you join me in singing My Country 'Tis of Thee? My country 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride, from every mountain side, let freedom ring.
Okay, President, he has many titles. Yeah, you guys can have a seat. Before we do the introduction, I guess, if you have a quick announcement for the club members, and just a quick report update, there's been a couple of changes to our flag program. As you guys listen, guys, the flag program, whenever you see flags on holidays over Irving, it's because it's called the Flags Over Irving program, and the Rotarians put them out. It's about 1,500 flags that are being released, and we have a great program that's fund a lot of the projects that Rotarians are involved in. And so, in the meantime, while we have had some changes to the club members that help with some of the distribution and communication, we've encountered two options that Dr. Lamar, incoming president, and also past president Shane Webb have been able to review. We have two options to present to the club that I think are going to be a great improvement, that are going to streamline a lot of the operations, that are going to allow many other organizations to also be part and therefore have a great process that is going to ensure that the platform continues, so that there's a lot of future benefits for the community from the work that we all do through that program. I do have a printout for one of those options for any of the members that would like to get a head and get a visual of it. The board and I are going to be meeting here in the next couple of weeks, actually the first of the month, to discuss and finalize some of the details, to see if it's something that we want to move forward with, and then present to the club after we finalize some of the final details. So again, so that way we can ensure that everybody has equal opportunity to have input, and as a club we decide what is the best route that we're going to take. That's what I want to quickly bring in. And again, I have a printout for anybody that would like to see one of those options that we put together for the club. Now we have our club secretary, Donna, who's going to introduce our guests.
Thank you. I'd like to give a warm welcome to Christine Kellogg, Morgan Birch, Edward Kahn, Erica Lopez, Shanae Moore, and Deonte Bell. Anyone I miss? Welcome.
All right. this against, for this couple weeks, and I'd like to give a couple of them an opportunity to, just introduce themselves and tell them about, who they are, what they're here, and, with that, we have, Morgan and Edward from Origin, Bank here in Las Colinas, that I'd like to introduce you guys to the club, and, tell us a bit about what you talk. Let's give a warm welcome, guys. Oh, sorry, yeah, we have a camera here, there's people online that are watching TV. Here we go.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Edgar Khan. I am the branch manager for Origin Bank. Our location is on 635 in MacArthur. We're a commercial-based bank. Primarily, we want to create a bigger footprint here in Irving, Las Colinas, in the community. So we love to partner with business owners, nonprofits. Come find me afterward if you want to get more details. I'm excited to connect with you all. Thank you, guys.
Hi everyone, my name is Morgan Birch. I'm the Retail Market Operations Manager for Origin Bank, so I handle all of our 16 locations across North Texas. One of the things I think you all would really enjoy to hear is Origin is very involved in the community. So this year alone, in 2023, we actually volunteered over 5,000 hours. So we have anywhere from 80 to 90% participation from our employees in the community, and we're really excited to get involved. Nice to meet you.
She has joined us for a while, and she had a baby, so congrats as well. And so now she's doing with us well, and she's doing the new role with them. So we look forward to seeing how, again, there's so much need in this community to see in our Rotary and so many projects. And so the organizations and people, those organizations that contribute, but Morgan said, I don't know how many hours did you personally contribute volunteer last year?
360.
360 hours. So again, there's a lot of ways to volunteer and each of the community. I feel like the Rotary Club has been a great champion of discovering what those are and putting together that roadmap on how we can continue to support the community. So thank you for being here and thank you for all the other organizations that are here today as well. We do have a great order for you guys today. Jordan, how ready are we for the presentation? Good, okay. We have Ms. Kimberly Hall. If you want to come up here, she is just a little bit about Kimberly. She for 6 years in the fire department as a fire prevention specialist. In her role as a fire prevention specialist, she wears many hats. She's a war peace officer, an arson investigator, fire inspector, and fire safety educator for the department. Although her college education is not related to the fire service, she does have a lot of experience teaching with her business administration and her master's in history. After working in a corporate role, she decided to join her dad, brother, and brother-in-law in the family business of the fire department. She's going to let us know more about what she does today.
Can everybody hear me okay? Yes. All right, well, I'm gonna put the microphone up because I talk with my hands. I don't want to. Someone is switching the microphone around. But I want to thank everybody for having me out today. I really enjoy coming to Rotary meetings. Again, my name is Kimberly Hall, and I'm a deputy fire marshal. Essentially, my title is fire prevention specialist, but most people know what a deputy fire marshal is. Most people haven't heard of a fire prevention specialist. But as he was saying, I do a couple of different jobs. So my first responsibility is arson investigator. So I go in after the fire has been put out and I investigate, essentially crime scene investigation. And so we have a really good team at Irving to be able to determine what started the fire. If somebody started on purpose, we go after them, go after the bad guys, which is pretty interesting. So arson investigator, my second kind of hat that I wear is not on that much yet. My second hat that I wear is a fire inspector. So we have almost 20 in our department in the fire marshal's office. So we're really, really blessed. We're really, really thankful that the city has invested so much in a strong fire marshal's office. Because although not everybody likes to deal with the fire marshal's office, although we don't always bring the best news, or when you walk into your business, you may get kind of a little nervous that you're getting a fire inspection. It does actually keep everybody safe in the city. We're able to have a ton of new construction with such a big team. We're able to do new inspections to make sure that the buildings that you guys live and work in and go and do activity, activities, go hang out at the restaurants are all safe to be in. So as a fire inspector, we can do all sorts of different things that are really exciting in the city. And then my third and most primary assignment is public education. So I get to come and talk to you guys and talk about fire safety, which I can talk for hours and hours and hours about, but I won't do that to you guys, I promise. But I go to all ages. So I go to the preschools, I go to middle, high schools. Tomorrow we're doing fire safety house at the elementary school, and I get to do corporate work and all of that stuff. So some of the stuff I'm going to talk today, I'm going to talk a little bit about some fire safety tips, and then I have a little bit of an advertisement that I'm going to give to you guys about some fun stuff that we're doing in the fire department, some community engagement things that I think are a really good opportunity if you're ever interested in that kind of stuff. Some of this stuff is common sense. Some of it you may have heard of, but in my time in the fire department, I've learned that common sense isn't so common. Whether people don't think about it, or whether maybe you just learn how to talk, and that's okay. Not everybody, has had the same experiences and does everything. So some of this might be new, some of it might be something you're familiar with. Even if you're familiar with everything, it's always good to kind of get a refresher, because I deal with fires all the time. My husband will tell you that I'm a paranoid person, and I check, everything that's turned off in the house 5 times before I leave, the house, and I'm very aware of it. But if you've never had a fire happen to you, it just may not be something that you've thought about. So I'm going to talk a little bit first about cold weather and heating safety, because this past week, it's going to get it was really cold, but it's probably going to get really cold again. And heating is quite a risk. So it's the second leading cause of home fires in Irving. The one in every home fire death, that's not an Irving statistic, that's a national statistic. That 1 in every 5 home fire deaths is a result of some sort of heating malfunction or something to do with a heating appliance. So it is quite deadly. Last year, we did have a double fatality fire due to what we believe was a heating device, a space heater. We weren't able to pinpoint exactly, because the house was so damaged, exactly what was the cause, but we think that was one of our leading hypotheses for what caused the fire. So it is quite dangerous. The most dangerous part that we find is space heaters. So if you got exterior pipes, if you got pipes in exterior walls and you set up a space heater to keep them from freezing during freezing weather, or if your heater isn't as strong as it needs to be and you use a space heater to help keep warm, it's really, really important to use them safely, because even if you have a newer space heater, it can still malfunction or it can be used improperly. So the most important thing is that space heaters need space. So they need at least 3 feet around the entire space heater with nothing around it. So no couch, no blankets, no pets, no nothing. It needs that 3-foot safe zone. So that's first thing. So we gotta have that. The second thing is you can't leave it running when you're not in the room. So I unplugged space heaters just because I don't want some crazy malfunction to happen. But unplug or turn off the space heater when you leave the room and when you go to sleep. I know that may be tough because you're cold when you sleep and you want that space heater running. But if you're not awake and oriented to what might be happening, it can get really dangerous. So make sure you unplug when you leave the room or go to sleep. And if you're using an old space heater, I highly, highly, highly recommend that you replace it with a newer model. Newer models have a feature that when it tips over, it turns off. Older ones, if it tips over, say somebody's walking by, a dog runs through, it knocks it over, it's still heating, even when that heating element is over and in contact with the ground or the rug or whatever might be there. So make sure that yours tips, when it tips over, it shuts off. Newer ones will also have an emergency shut off if it gets too hot. So if it overheats, it'll turn off the heating element. So newer ones are just generally going to be better. If you have one that has those safety features, it's also important to plug it directly into the wall. So don't plug it into even a surge protector. Definitely don't plug it into just a plain extension cord. But even a surge protector isn't going to be safe because it pulls so much electricity. Any heating element, any heating device needs to be plugged directly into the wall, and don't overload your outlet. Don't plug 2 space heaters into the wall. It's just may cause too much resistance in that electricity in the outlet and may cause a fire in your wall or at the device itself. Go to the next slide, please. Another really important bit, this is something that we saw when we had the giant freeze back in 2021, I believe the year was it, is generator safety. So if we do, if we have the unfortunate event of power outages, people have bought generators to help power either their home or some devices in their home. It's so important to use generators safely because they create something called carbon monoxide. A lot of people get carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide confused. Carbon monoxide is incredibly dangerous. So you might be able to smell carbon dioxide, or at least the products of combustion coming off the car, you can smell exhaust. You can't smell carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide is called the silent killer because you can't taste it, you can't smell it, you can't see it, you can't do anything. So one of the byproducts of using a generator is carbon monoxide. So you never, ever, ever want to use it indoors. And that includes your garage. Just because your garage is attached, or just because your garage is a separate room in your house, like a bit of your home, you never want to run it inside the garage. You want it as far away as you can put it from your house. Make sure that the exhaust isn't venting towards your house. So if you have it outside, but it's right by the door and it's venting towards the door, you may still have some problems. So keep it outside. If you do have one and you are running it, even if it's outside, I encourage you to get carbon monoxide detectors. So I know everybody's generally familiar with smoke detectors. You can get the dual to where it can detect both carbon monoxide and smoke. I suggest having a dedicated smoke detector, or excuse me, the dedicated smoke detector, but also a dedicated carbon monoxide detector. You actually mount them lower on your wall because carbon monoxide is heavier, so it'll sink towards the floor. But if you don't have that detector, you will not know that you have carbon monoxide in your house. You won't be able to smell it, taste it, anything. You actually start to have some symptoms of carbon monoxide poisoning, but you won't be able to recognize it as carbon monoxide poisoning because you can get drowsy, you'll get confused. You won't be able to continue a clear thought. It's really, really difficult. So you may get like, oh, I'm feeling sleepy, go to bed, and then you don't wake up. So very important to have carbon monoxide detectors. I also recommend them for homes if you have gas service, have a carbon monoxide detector. And if your garage is attached to your home, have a carbon monoxide detector. If you don't have either of those, it's not like crazy important because you're not gonna have a real source of carbon monoxide in your home unless you use a generator close to your house. And this last one, I know it seems a little silly, but I have seen this, especially when it gets really cold, is never heat your home with your oven. It's not going to be efficient. You're not going to get warm, and it's just not good. So please, please, please don't heat your home with your oven. Keep the door closed. That is a link to a YouTube video. I'm not sure if we're able to get to it or not. It was the video was just showing how quickly a space heater, even a newer space heater model, can catch a couch on fire. It happens in seconds. So that couch obviously was in the 3-foot safety zone of that space heater right there. And I think it was within about 20 seconds, the couch started smoking. So, and I have sometimes shown another video, I don't have it in the PowerPoint, but the speed in which a home can burn down will shock you. So if you're curious in seeing a video, there's tons on YouTube, but in modern day homes, all of our furniture, like this couch right there, any of our chairs, things like that, has polyurethane foam. And things like polyurethane, polyester, anything with a poly in the name means that it comes from petroleum. It's a plastic byproduct, it's a petrochemical byproduct. Now you can imagine how a petrochemical byproduct might burn just by thinking about oil and gas and things like that. And it burns like that. So the foam in these couches and chairs that we all have in our home burns like gasoline. So you can have a fire like this, which if it was an old style couch that had like wool batting, cotton batting, that might burn for 10, 15 minutes before it really gets rid of that. But nowadays we have polyurethane foam and synthetic products, it takes about 3 to 5 minutes before the whole room is inflamed, before it's about 1200 degrees in that room. So very, very, very quickly. And the smoke that comes off of polyurethane products is nasty. It's really bad. So it's very important to know that these fires can happen very quickly and that you gotta get outside, call 911. So smoke alarms are gonna be your lifesaver. So that is all of the fire safety stuff I have to talk to you about that. I have now my fun advertisement. And of course, if you have any questions about fire safety, particular situations, anything like that, I'll have time for questions at the end. But now I'm going to encourage you to apply for our Citizens Fire Academy. Our CFA is a 7-week class. They're on Tuesday nights with a couple of Saturdays. Tuesdays from about 7 to 9:30ish that are taught by our firefighters. So we go through all of the different fun and cool things that the fire department does. So truck operations, like this one right there, you get a chance to climb the ladder. Engine operations, hazmat, technical rescue, confined space. You get to cut up a car. It's really cool. You get to do all of these really cool things taught by our firefighters. I organize the class, so I'm kind of your hostess going through everything. But it's a really cool opportunity to learn exactly all that Irving Fire does for you. A lot of people think that we just go in and put out fires, and then we go back to the station and we play video games and watch the football game. That's partly true. But we do a lot of other things as well. 80% of our calls are medical calls, so you get to learn all about our EMS structure, learn some CPR, things like that, learn about how we treat all of the crazy different calls that come to the city. Each class will have a hands-on portion, so you get to have your PowerPoint to learn the basics with the firefighters teaching, and then we actually get to go to stuff. So you get to put on all the gear, which I think is pretty cool. You get to be live your inner firefighter dream. All of our hands-on stuff is optional. So if you, for some reason, you're like me and you don't like heights, you don't have to climb the ladder. Climbing the ladder is terrifying to me, but I'm not a firefighter. But if you want to, I encourage you, because how many times are you going to be able to climb the fire truck ladder? We get to use the jaws of life. So you can turn we get a wrecked car. We can work with one of our tow trucks. They send us cars to practice on. So we get to turn a wrecked car into a convertible. So you get it cut off the roof with the jaws of life. If you have some frustrations, you're mad at somebody, you take it out on the car. But it won't be mad about it. You get to spray the fire hose and hook up to a hydrant. Donning all the hazmat gear, all of this stuff. One year we got to we set up some pulleys and just normal people in the class pulled a Tahoe just by walking. But with the way we pulled up the pulleys and ropes, so it wasn't a lot of effort for them to pull the car, which is pretty neat. A lot of really cool things that you may not think that the fire department does, you can have a hands-on opportunity to try it out. It's 100% free, so you get snacks, drinks, your lunches on Saturdays are covered by the fire department. But it's a 100% free opportunity that if you live or work in Irving, you can apply for. There's 2 cycles a year. So I do have some candidates right now that I'm working through, although I do have some spots open for the spring cycle. So it starts at the end of March and ends in like this May 11th, I think is our graduation. If you can't make the spring one, or if we fill up, we have it in the fall as well. So every spring and fall, we do CFA. I really encourage you to do it because although it can be a big time commitment, 7 weeks seems like a lot. It is a truly, really exciting thing. And the big thing that we push at the end is we have this thing called the Citizens Fire Academy Alumni Association. So CFAAA, lots of A's at the end. CFAAA, that's what I call it. But we have this organization that volunteers for the fire department. So these people who, of their own time, of their own volition to come and help us, they run our rehab in the fire department. So if we have a really big fire, there's only a certain amount of time that firefighters can be actually in the building fighting fire because our air packs get empty. It's just really exhausting. You have to cycle out, go into rehab, and coming back in because if you have somebody working for hours and hours, they're not going to be any good to anybody. They're going to fall out. So the CFA alumni runs our rehab. So they have an ambulance that the city lets them use. They've retrofitted to our big fires will actually be dispatched by our dispatch. They work hand in hand. For any large fire, they come and you get to help the firefighters like chill out, like give them water, have them a place to sit. You know, sometimes they'll go get Chick-fil-A or McDonald's and hand out sandwiches to the firefighters. And I know all of our firefighters are so thankful for it, because otherwise it's a jug of water or a pack of warm water on the back of the engine and maybe a packet of crackers that they packed, like that they happen to stow away in their bag. But now they're actually taken care of, and I know the fire chief is very, very thankful for it. So to get to do that, you have to do our CFA class, because you got to know what we do. So it's our way of onboarding volunteers. So I encourage you to check it out. Go to the next slide, please. That's one of our classes. So they turn that car into a convertible. So that's my wrecking crew that year. It's a lot of fun. If you'll scroll back up, actually, there's a link. So if you are interested, or if you know somebody who's interested, it's available to anybody who lives or works in Irving that's at least 18 years old. You apply online at ifdsafety.com. The page is CFA, so you go /CFA, but if not, it's at the menu at the top. There's a short application process, like name, address, make sure that you live or work in Irving, phone number, email, so I can contact you. We do a background check, just because if you do come and volunteer with us, I gotta make sure that you're not a crazy person, you're not gonna come murder me. So we make sure of that. I do post all of them, so I don't want to if you don't want to copy down this website up here, I do have handouts at the back with Donna, if you want to take one of those for later. But I encourage you to apply, or if you want more questions, you can always reach out. So ifdsafety.com, there's also a lot of other fire safety tips and videos and a lot of cool things on the website. Or if you would like a class for your own group. So if you have a book club, church, youth group, whatever there might be, whatever group you have in Irving, if it's within the Irving city limits, I offer free classes. So I can cater it to whatever you might want. So if you have a group of seniors at your church, or if you have a pre-K group, or whatever it might be, please reach out. You can go to that website, go to classes, and there's a form you can fill out, and I will come and teach and talk to you guys and do fun stuff. I have lots of hands-on stuff as well, hands-on fire extinguisher and things like that. So I encourage you to check it out. That is it for me. Again, my name is Kimberly, I'm a fire prevention specialist. If anybody has any questions, I'd be glad to answer. What you got?
I think you said you're an arson investigator.
Yes, ma'am.
So at what point are you called in? During the fire, after the fire's out? And then is it assumed arson until ruled out?
Good question. So there are some criteria that would call for an automatic call for an investigator. So if the fire is over $100,000 in damages, they call for an investigator. Not including cars, because if there's a fire in the garage and both cars are damaged, you're going to hit $100,000. You're not even breaking a sweat nowadays with the car prices we have. So not including cars. If there is a fire death, they call us. Firefighter injury or death, if it happens on city property, if the incident commander, who is the person in charge of the fire scene, if they deem that it should be investigated, they call us out, no matter if it's $5 in damage, if they deem it. Or if carbon monoxide injury or death. So we need to figure out what caused the carbon monoxide. So generally the fires are bigger that we get called to, just because if somebody is getting injured or something like that, the fires generally had some time to grow. But they can call us out I've been called out for a small trash can fire because they thought it was arson. So it's not presumed arson. So the way that we do it, to make sure that we're doing it in a fair and equitable way, so that we don't assume of anything, because you can think it's an arson all day long, and then you get to the end and it's just an electrical. So we treat every single fire as the same way. So we enter it the same way. Literally down to I start my investigations by walking around the exterior of the building clockwise. And I go clockwise literally every single fire I approach the same way. So that I go in, and then as I collect all of the data and start, investigating, looking for everything. And this is a very physical process. So it's literally, for instance, this building caught on fire, which would be safe because there are sprinklers. But if for some reason this building burned down, everything that's up here is going to fall down. So all of the ceiling tiles, everything would fall down, and so essentially what we have to do is dig everything out to look exactly the way that it was. So if there's stuff in the attic, everything, you're literally digging out what could be an entire house, looking for stuff. So it could take 12 hours, it could take 2 hours, just depends, but you have to go in not assuming anything. Because if we do, and you know, if it's somebody's like civil rights in danger, because you think you're like, oh, this one's an arson, I know it. That could be a really, you know, that's not fair. So it's going in and doing every single thing the same way. And then as you collect data, you start to piece together the thing. So essentially, not to get too much into this, I can talk about this for hours, I love to talk. But essentially what you do is, if say there's a fire next to the door, you start with every single possible competent ignition source. So you look at it, is there an electrical plug? No. Were they cooking in the area? No. And you whittle it down to the only competent ignition source in that area would have been a human doing that. And then you say, okay, well, who was in the area? Where can I get video? Where can I get whatever? Where can I get somebody's cell phone tower ping in that area? So it turns into a whole thing. A lot of the times, it's not that complicated. You walk in and you're like, well, the fire's on the stove. And they said they were cooking. But it can be a huge project to put together. What is that? Yes, ma'am.
Carbon monoxide containers, do we need just wood, or is it just like the fire smoke alarm, we need like a different?
Good question. So I go a little overboard because I'm a paranoid person. You would need at least one on every floor. I like them like smoke alarms, where you have one in the bedroom, one outside the bedroom, and at least one on every floor. That's probably a safe way to do it. However, depending on what model and what brand you buy, it should say in the package like where you should install them and how many you need, because some of them might be more sensitive than others. So I don't want to say it flatly, but I would say at least bedrooms and outside the bedrooms are your main ones, because it's gonna sink. So generally it's about 3 feet off the floor is where you install them. And test them. Make sure your smoke alarms, make sure you're testing those. And if they're over 10 years old, replace the entire thing. What you got?
Couple questions. So it said that heating was the #2 cause of home fires. So I'd like to know what #1 was. And then the other thing is, I've had 2 houses in my neighborhood. I think one totally burned down and one was badly damaged from lightning. No, Asina over by Riverside. So they were lightning. So I would like your thoughts on if lightning rods actually help. So those
Definitely.
2.
I asked that you were in the lakes because my parents live in the lakes and their house burned down. My dad's house burned down. He was dispatched on fire. And then the house next to them and the house 2 doors down, even also lightning strikes. First thing is those cooking. That's #1 cause, because you're putting heat on stuff. So that's going to be a huge factor. The second thing is lightning rods are helpful. We do suggest them. They're not in the ordinance that we can like require. But they are helpful. I don't know what it is about the area over there that there's so many lightning strikes. There must be some sort of underwater like river that's like like the static or something, because there's so many in that area that have been lightning strike fires. So having a grounded lightning rod that gets like what it is that they install on top of the house, and then it gets grounded through wire to like up kind of near where your electrical meter is. It's just like a ground that goes deep in the ground to discharge the charge. They are helpful. And before anybody gets any ideas and say, well, there's a lot of lightning strikes over there. I have a house over there behind on my mortgage. I can make it look like a lightning strike. We can actually track lightning strikes. We're with the National Lightning Association to be able to track lightning strikes, so you can't pull them around. But it is a problem. So all of those ones over there, we're able to actually track the lightning strike that struck those houses. So I would look into those. It makes me nervous. But my parents' house, it wasn't a lightning strike. It was oily rags. So oily rags can spontaneously compose. So anyways, I don't want to. I'll talk about this forever. I have a question over here, and then I'll get to it.
I was just gonna ask, what are your thoughts on the Sandman explosion? The hotel,
Oh, probably actually yes. I would think. I think they were doing work on it. I haven't looked into it. Yeah.
Just, if you thought it was the workers or.
I don't know if it was the workers or not. I haven't looked into it. I did see on the news that they had their arson investigators out. I was like, oh, we usually never make the news. But I haven't looked into it. I would assume some people smell natural gas, that there was some sort of, if they were working, I don't know if they were working on the gas lines or what, but it would be a reasonable thing to maybe hypothesize that. I don't know. Yeah, I saw that. I was like, oh my gosh, there's been a couple in Irving, just like homes. Makes me nervous. But yeah.
So some companies have their own safety protocols in the event of carbon monoxide detector goes off. What should you do if your carbon monoxide detector goes off in your office?
Go outside.
Do we
Definitely.
call
You should go outside and call it.
aí.
Don't call building management. If you need to call building management after you call 911 for sure, but don't do anything before you call 911. So if your carbon monoxide alarm goes off, what you should do is like, don't open the windows, like if it's in your home, don't say, let me get some fresh air, because if we need to come detect there's carbon monoxide inside, it just all went out the window. So, it will make you, if there's a significant amount of carbon monoxide, it will make you confused. Generally, I've had people call and they're calling about carbon monoxide, and they're like, I'll get people who call just asking for tips, and so I will gladly talk with them. But I had somebody call and they're like, oh, my carbon monoxide is going off, whatever, and I was like, oh, I need to transfer you to dispatch because this, and then like they'll forget what they're saying like mid-sentence, or like it's not going off, and it's like, it's obviously like the carbon monoxide is making them confused. So if it goes off, take it seriously. Go outside, call 911. Don't open the windows. If you need to call your building manager, whatever, do that after the fact once you're outside. But don't try to investigate where it's coming from. It can come from a number of different sources. So I've had some that it's been like a water heater where it has a pilot light, like an exposed pilot light, and maybe something is like, it's an older one, something is falling on the pilot light and it's combusting, but it's a incomplete combustion, so it's not like creating a bunch of smoke or creating carbon monoxide or other different things. So definitely check to make sure they work. You can press the test button, and if it beeps, you can test it. It should be good to go if it's within its 10-year lifespan. And pay attention to them. If your smoke alarms are going off, don't go, oh, what's going on? We go investigate, just go outside and call us. Please don't wait to call us. But good questions. Anybody else?
Well, how do we ensure that we never have to call a fire department is by taking preventative steps, and just like in everything, right? We take a lot of preventative steps, and the services that are there in case you need them, but hopefully we never have to. At this point in time, I would like to bring up Rick Lindsay to talk to us about special album that has been going around, photos that's going to be presented to Rotarian that spent many years with the club doing a lot, and Irving is going to tell us all about that RG and what we got going on here real quick.
Thank you, President Laz. For our visiting Rotarians and friends, let me just give you a little history. Cowboys kicked off the Red Kettle program on Thanksgiving Day. If you remember, Jack and all the guys that died in the big Red Kettle. For us here in the city of Irving, Lieutenant Cody Johns, who's a member of this club, also helped us kick off in the city of Irving our Red Kettle program. So a history has been that this Rotary Club, under the direction of a gentleman named Ed McCarty, for the past 20 years, Ed had been asking members to volunteer. So starting on November 25th through December 16th, we had 4 time slots starting at 10 going to 6. So multiply that out, that's 4 times 2 times 4, that's 32 volunteers. So I made the calls on a Friday afternoon about 9 o'clock that night. President, I had the list filled out. So Kathy Howard, stand up, Kathy, we want to recognize your hard work. Take a photograph of their team ringing the bell. You need to catch up with Kathy and look. Some of them are quite humorous. One lady was in a red and green costume and some other costumes. So this book has 25 photographs of 40 volunteers. So I only needed 32. I had 33 adults and 7 children. You can visit with Kathy and I think Laura, Ryan, Richard Payne, Bob and Donna, it functioned about 32 Rotarians. Visit with them, but it's very moving. You ring the bell and a person comes out, Terry, and that looks like they need help from Salvation Army, and they put a $20 bill in. And it's very moving to see parents come out and give change or money to their children, and they put it in the cap. It's a great program. Thank you, Mr. President. I'm sorry I went too long, but it's a passion of this club. Great job, this club. Thank you.
And he took the initiative to get all the spots filled between a few hours, I believe, he got all that done. And that's how we're able to have another year of a successful bell ringing program. And today we'll be touching 2 programs out of the many that this club is involved with for some of the new Rotarians and visiting guests. Again, it takes a village, and we meet here sometimes to eat and just converse. And but I would encourage all of you guys to get with other fellow Rotarians to see how you can be involved. There are many programs, and again, we are working with the leadership to make sure that those programs continue and have good longevity and a good process to keep going. I did want to acknowledge our past district governor, Max Plant, for joining us today. And then we have a couple guests as well, Randy Hoover and my little sister, Sylvia Martinez. Thank you. Do we have any other club announcements before we adjourn? We'll be meeting here next week and look forward to that presentation. If you guys are not receiving the email communication from Mara, please see with Donna in the back so that she can make sure that she gets your email entered and get all the information. We're going to have Valerie those that help us with the rotary 4-way test. If you guys can please send that.
Please join me in the 4-way test with the things we think, say, or do. First,
Is it true?
Second,
Is it fair to all concerned?
Third,
Will it build goodwill and professions?
and fourth.
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?